The inability to close, the inability to finish continues to plague this Auburn basketball season.
This is happening in Auburn, Alabama. We're a football school, but we're also an everything school.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. This may be a hard one. We'll see. Zach Blackerby, Darrell, Dapprich, we want to welcome you into the Henry Service Company postgame show where Auburn loses to Alabama 90-85. And Darrell, what was a lot closer game than I was expecting it to be. But man, the 17-point lead and then just watching it slowly slip away. It's brutal. It's a brutal way to lose a game.
It is. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised with the way Auburn played for the first 30 minutes of that basketball game, first half, and then the first 10 minutes. And I'll be honest with you, I mean, being up 17, I was very excited about that. I felt very good about where Auburn was, but I didn't think they were going to extend that lead. I mean, I never felt comfortable even with the 17-point lead because Alabama can just score in droves. And so I felt like Auburn was going to have to hang on. I felt like building a 17-point lead should have been enough to hold on. I didn't think they were going to run away and hide, again, because of the way Alabama plays offensively. I knew they had a run in them. Sooner or later. And, you know, that's happened the last three games that Alabama's played, South Carolina, Arkansas, and now Auburn. So, you know, focusing on Auburn, again, it's the narrative that we've had all year. You can't, you know, I mean, giving up a 17-point lead isn't just a failure to close. It's blowing a pretty big lead. This isn't like the other leads where it was 8 points, 9 points, whatever. 17 on the road. You shoot it about as good as you can shoot it from three-point land. You out-rebound Alabama. But to me, two storylines, turnovers. You cannot go on the road and commit 18 turnovers against the number one team in the country or the number one overall seed.
Right.
And you also have to do a little bit better when you get an opportunity for freebies at the free throw line, right? I think you left probably, I mean, they shot 63%. You make 4 or 5 more, could be a different game. So, great effort, but you know this isn't This isn't upwards.
Just tired of saying that. I'm tired of saying good effort. Yeah, guys fought all that. Like I just, it's getting old. It's getting old saying.
You don't get a blue star for effort like at upwards basketball. You got to finish, and this one stings because you went on the road and did everything you needed to do to beat the number 2 team in the country, and you just couldn't finish, and that stings. There's no doubt. Now, how do you respond to that? It'll be interesting because I also think that Auburn was shorthanded going into overtime with some players fouling out, and you cannot match Alabama's depth and have some of your best scorers fouling out in overtime and hope to score enough to win.
Yep. A lot of people in the live chat blaming Bruce and Wendell for putting the game in Wendell's hands. My question to that is, well, the rest of your offense, Jani Broome and Allen Flanagan and Jalen Williams all fouled out. So I don't know what else you really wanted. I mean, KD had some shots late as well. So I love Lior, but I don't know if I want Lior shooting the game-winning shots. So if you're blaming Wendell, which I'm cool with, seriously, I'm cool with, but who would you rather put it in the hands of than Wendell? I'd like to know that. Because really, let's just be honest, if KD makes any sort of free throws down the stretch, I think we're having a very different conversation here.
Yeah, you're talking about a guy that had 21 points. So, I mean, and really played his rear end off, KD, but he's got to hit free throws. He hit some big threes, but how about hitting them from about 5 feet closer? And that comes down to all game, Auburn played really well until they got to that last stretch. But when you don't get the crucial rebound, you can out-rebound somebody by 8. But when you don't get that crucial rebound, or you can have a better shooting percentage from three-point land, but when you hit that 3, see, all that matters when you make plays. And Alabama hit their free throws, except for the Jaden Bradley split and the last 2, the whole time. And so look, it is frustrating. The Wendell Green situation. Here's my concern and my criticism about Auburn in drawing up plays. Auburn does really, really well out of timeouts, but for some reason that doesn't translate to end of halves and end of games. So I don't get that. That is just absolutely perplexing to me. How you can do so well the whole game out of timeouts and score every time, but when the game's on the line or the half's on the line, they just don't. And so that's got to get corrected. They've got to do something better on possessions to end the game.
Okay, so folks are talking about the end of regulation. That seems like 45 million years ago. And we were watching that live together, Darrell, and I said, what did I say? I said, "Oh, this is one of those possessions where Wendell's not going to pass the basketball." So, if you wanted to give it to Jalen there, like I'm cool with it, but that's just not. This is not like what's going to happen when you have Wendell Green as your point guard. It's just not.
No, and I think too, somebody in the comments made a great point that when you go to overtime and you're tied at the end of the game, you gave up a 17-0 run cannot happen. 17-0, I mean, I get a 8-0 run, a 10-0 run. 17-0 run is ungodly, unheard of, and inexcusable in college basketball. So even if you suck at the highest level and make it a 17-4 run, you win the basketball game. I mean, that's the frustration. You can't go that cold for that long and hope to win a basketball game. 17-0 is inexcusable and pathetic, and something has to happen to stem that. I mean, again, if we were talking about a 17-4 run, that would sound significant, but those 4 points would have enabled you to win the game. So I don't know if they went into a shell, if they started playing tight. I know their offensive possessions got really, really
But they can't close. I mean, that's been pretty clear. Like, we know this team can't close.
But you shouldn't close. You should have to close with 9 minutes left in the game. I think that's the concern. With 10 minutes to go, you give up a 17-0 run. That's really not closing. That's still a lot of basketball left.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
The amount of people dissing Bruce Pearl and all this is fascinating to me. I thought that was his best coach game of the year. I mean, when you just look at, you're on the road and you're playing what I've said is the best basketball team in the country since like week 3 of the season. And you are like outmatched at pretty much every position. And that's kind of where you got to towards the end of the game. Like, I don't think this one's on Bruce, guys. I think that's a stretch. I think you're pushing some kind of bigger, larger agenda if you think that was on Bruce Pearl.
I think that he did everything that he could do tonight with what was given to him. And I mean, I know that the flex offense and the sets they were getting and the scoring they were getting down low. I mean, he came out and had a game plan to enable them to get a 17-point lead. I mean, I don't know what you can do from a coaching standpoint when it all starts coming unraveled. And Alabama starts hitting everything in sight. You can change defenses. You can switch. You can get to the corners quicker. You could zone. He tried different lineup combinations. At some point, you can't go out and dribble the basketball and make that. I mean, did Bruce Pearl cause 17 turnovers? No. I mean, you can draw up a perfect game plan and a perfect offensive set, and when you throw it 3 rows up or have an offensive foul, what are you going to do? That's not his fault. I mean, he can't make plays for guys. He put them in position to succeed. Again, let me ask you this. I think strategy and coaching, Zach, enables you to get to the free throw line a lot with the successful offensive sets. Once you get to the free throw line, it's out of the coach's hands. He can't make free throws. He didn't cause KD Johnson to miss 6 free throws at crucial points. That's not coaching.
Yep. People ask, well, what's he supposed to do? You got to get better players. The issues on this roster cannot be fixed at this point of the season. They can't. No. And Darrell, we've known that. Like, we've known that really since the thick of conference play. And it's just, you got to hope that they adjust, right? Like, you're going to lose some guys through graduation and eligibility. You're going to lose some guys through the portal, or maybe they want to go to try to be pro or go overseas or whatever that may be. And you're going to have to process people. And you're going to have to change the construction of this roster. You're going to have to if you want to win. And I think just what we've both heard, I think that's going to happen. But as far as like what could have been done this game, like, I don't think Auburn had any business being up 17.
No, that in itself with this roster construction is a miracle in itself. I think when we look back objectively and unemotionally at the end of the year, if Auburn wins Saturday, which they have every chance to do with the way they played tonight on the road against a team that's number 2 in the country, Tennessee coming in without Ziegler, at home with everything on the line. Auburn wins that game, goes 20-11, 10-8 in the SEC, goes and wins a game in the SEC tournament, which I don't think they have to do to get to the NCAA tournament, and gets into the tournament. We'll look back on this year and go, dang, he got pretty much everything he could get out of this roster. Now, coaching is not just coaching on the court, it's also constructing a roster. So that's partly on him. When you look back and say what kind of coaching job he did this year, he put himself in that position with this roster management.
But he also built the program off of loyalty. And so I'm not going to ask Bruce Pearl to suddenly not be who he is.
I wouldn't trade him for the guy across the court tonight. I don't give a crap who's number 2 in the country in light of everything that's happened. Our program's in very good hands right now.
I would be embarrassed to be an Alabama basketball fan right now.
Yeah, our program's in good hands, and he knows. Don't think he's not frustrated. He is peed right now, and so he knows what he has to do to get the roster turned around next year, and he will do it. And they'll come back guns a-blazing. But this year's not over yet. There's still some things to play for. There's still some things from get the utmost out of this year. And, people saying they got to win Saturday and win a game. Absolutely not. In the SEC tournament, absolutely not. They win Saturday, they're a lock. They may be in anyway. It's going to be interesting to see. I'm not for moral victories. I'm not for participation trophies. But Auburn may have done just enough tonight in a quad 1 loss on the road against the number 2 team in the country, who's number 2 net, to move them up a couple spots in net. I don't know how the formula works, but I've seen them lose games in the past, and teams lose games and move up in the net. So if you're going to move up in the net, it would make sense you move up into an overtime loss by 5 to the number 2 team in the country. But we'll see. Again, I'm not worried about that. This loss stings because you did everything you needed to do for 30 minutes, and then you absolutely failed miserably by going so cold. That 17-0 run was part Alabama making shots that they weren't making in the first half, and then part Auburn going ice cold.
Yep. Tony says this one hurts more than Kentucky for real. Yeah, it should. Yeah. It should. This stinks. This is awful. I had to quit drinking my Buffalo Trace because I didn't want to say anything I'd regret because I knew this one was going to sting. And, and that's kind of the thing that stinks about all of this is that we can't even enjoy a 17-point lead because we knew that this was a real chance of happening. I was texting you while it was happening. I'm like, I still don't think we're going to win. I still don't feel good about this. And that's exactly what happened. But there were bright spots as far as performance, and I don't know how much we're supposed to talk about that right now. But you look at Jalen, he had 15, Janai had 10, Allen had 17. Those 3 guys fouled out, and then Katie Johnson had his best performance of the year with 21 points. But we're not going to remember it. We're going to remember the fact that he couldn't make free throws down the stretch. It stinks. There's nothing about this that was fun.
No, and it's when it's fun for a little over half of the game or 3/4 of the game, it makes it even more difficult when it starts to slip away like that. And I think a big part of this basketball game, Zach, was when Alabama cut it to 8. Broome picks up his 5th foul on a very, very curious call by the official. He gets do-si-doed and spun around like he's square dancing, gets thrown to the floor. Quinterly throws the ball off of him, trying to, I guess, throw it off of him out of bounds. Could have been called a technical if they went and reviewed it, if they looked at intent. But that foul shouldn't have went on Broome. They're shooting free throws to cut it to 6, and one of your best players is done for the night. I think that was a really, really big turning point. Even if they, ejected Griffin and Bediako, I think it hurt. I think that to me, that was a nexus in the game where you could say, okay, what's Auburn going to do from here?
Yeah,
and that's when Alabama went on a run and took the lead.
It's tough. It's tough. You know what else is tough? Coming home and your electricity doesn't work, your plumbing doesn't work, your HVAC doesn't work, and you're like, I've got to call a million people to fix all these things. But Darrell, you don't. You can just call one person. You can call one person, they fix all your problems. You sad about this game? They could probably fix that too. Check out our friends at Henry's Service Company. They are the best in the biz. Darrell, you trust these guys with everything. You use these guys, you have for years, and you'll continue to do so moving forward for a long time.
Yeah, I may call them out to my office tomorrow just to kind of soothe my soul, just to chit-chat, and you know what I'm saying? Have a little, fellowship, because this one stings.
That's right. That's right. But they do plumbing, electrical. War Eagle Wyoming saying call Henry's. Be like War Eagle Wyoming. Call Henry's. Call them 334-288-2700. Alabama license number 00021. Harris is saying Henry Service Company is elite, like Joe Flacco. Some people will disagree. I think playoff Joe Flacco is very, very special. A lot of people blaming the refs. And I just, with the exception of like the team storming the court, we'll talk about that in a second. But like outside of that, I really didn't like it was bad, but I don't think it was really that uneven, Darrell. Like there were several times where Bama would be called and I'd be like, oh, all right, interesting, cool, whatever. And then, Auburn would be at the free throw line and then would miss free throws, right? It's certainly what it felt like. So I don't know. Like, I'm not saying it was good and I'm not saying it was consistent, but I do think it was closer to even than people are acting like it is. Now,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
I was going to say, I think, but it looks like at certain points of a basketball game is where maybe people start to question, when something's called. I mean, I get it. The free throws were very similar. Again, the no call. Janiah Broome getting called for his fifth foul. Katie Johnson not getting, they didn't whistle the foul on him when he was going to the basket a couple times trying to draw the foul. They let that go. I don't know. Again, you look at the total fouls. Auburn got whistled for 28. Alabama got whistled for 19. It is what it is.
Yep. Make free throws. Don't do stupid turnovers. Like that you can control. You can control that. You can't control the officiating. Now, Alabama having two guys and an assistant coach ejected. And we could talk big picture about like just the state of that Alabama program and how like Nate Oates has no control whatsoever. We can talk about that. But first, let's talk about the fact, like, I don't understand, and they never explained it. And I'm curious if the refs explained it to anyone because they brought Bruce Pearl and Nate Oates in to talk about it. But I don't get, like, there were like 6 or 7 teammates that all ran out at the same time. Why were 2 gone? I just want to know the rule. Like, why those 2? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And then when they showed the replay again, like there wasn't an assistant coach out there. Why did the assistant coach get ejected? It was a really weird thing to me. And why did it take so long? Like, isn't that just, okay, these guys are out there before they were supposed to be. That's the rule is you're ejected. Like why? That did not make sense to me, Darrell. And I hope the SEC gives clarification on that.
Well, I had your answer to your question, and everybody in the chat is confirming that. It's because those 2 dudes and the assistant coach in the black shirt crossed half court. You can come off the bench and stay on your side. Once you cross half court, which is the kind of the demarcation line, it becomes like an act of aggression, and then you get ejected. Now, with that, though, and this is where I need some clarity on the rules, I don't understand why none of that is a technical foul. I don't get that. I mean, I think that if you cross mid-court and you get ejected, I think that should be a T. That should be a technical foul. So I don't know why they didn't shoot free throws. When I saw someone go to the free throw line, I thought it was going to be Auburn, and it ended up being Alabama to cut the lead to 6. So I really would want to get more clarification on that. Somebody who knows more officiating than I do, but I think when you get ejected, with that should come some sort of punishment from a in-game penalty type thing.
I don't know. It stinks. And I didn't decide the game one way or the other.
No, I just think
Curious.
it didn't. Auburn had a chance right then to respond the right way.
No, it
And to
went the other way.
change the flow, and it went the other way. That's what bothers me. Now, if they're shooting 4 free throws there, who knows? With the way they were shooting free throws tonight, they may have made 1. So
Totally.
the free throws are not automatic points, as we learned today. Because if they would have been, and Auburn would have just hit 70%, they win the game in regulation.
That's right. That's right. All right. Questions, comments, concerns. We'll put some of the comments from the live chat. A lot of these I can't put up, guys, which isn't unexpected. James wants to talk about this Alabama program. What do you think James means by that, Darrell?
I don't know. I think I'm with you. I think there's a Locked On Alabama for that, and I get it. Alabama played us tonight inside the scope and the structure of the game. Easy to talk about. Whatever they do off the court and how their players conduct themselves and their head coach conducts themselves, it's frustrating to watch. I get it. I guess I would say this. I would be a little more humble and not so much of a trash talker if some of the things happened to me happened at 24. But, that's not me. He's a kid. Not a kid, but I mean, he's 20 years old. He's not a grown-up adult yet. So I don't know. I'm not personally for it. It is what it is from a standpoint of them and how they conduct their program.
That's right. John says if Auburn plays as well as they did tonight, the rest of the season, they will be all right. I agree with that. If you play like that on Saturday at home, you beat Tennessee, and then you probably win a game or two in the tournament, in the SEC tournament, and then you get to keep playing. So
you have a good shot. You have a good shot. That's a good point by John Kemp, as we call him Airport John.
That's Airport John?
That is Airport John. He sure is checking
Airport
your
John.
bags at the Montgomery Regional. If you win the game against Tennessee, that's a quad 1 win. You get to the SEC tournament. I think you have some momentum there. And now you're on a neutral floor, right? You play a team the first round you should beat. You play a team in the second round that you might be evenly matched with. That's the way the tournament bracket works. On a neutral floor, who knows? Win a couple in the SEC tournament. It's not. Did anybody before this podcast tonight expect Auburn to play the way they did tonight? No. I had people telling me that call into radio shows saying, Darrell, are you even going to watch? Are you and Zach even going to do a live podcast because it could get ugly? These are Auburn fans saying that. So nobody expected Auburn to play lights out and get a 17-point lead with 10 minutes to go tonight. That's the way basketball is. Anything could happen. So, yeah, I mean, they could. Now the frustrating part is this could have completely flipped the trajectory of this season. You come out of here with a win tonight, too. So
that's right. AU for Life says, are Traore and Westry on the roster next year? Zach, I would say you probably keep one, you lose one. That is my guess. You may lose both. I don't think you keep both of them.
I don't mean this ugly at all. I'm curious as to what the infatuation has been like the last 10 games with two guys that haven't sniffed a minute of playing time and have had no
situations. They're different
and have no impact. Yeah, they've had no impact on this basketball team. So who cares about them? I mean, I'm sorry. Next year I'll think about them. Right now they're a non-factor.
Westry is recovering from a knee procedure. Traore, I think the coaching staff was surprised when Traore performed the way that he did so far this year. Clay says, make your free throws and we win. That is correct.
That is true.
Sadly, that did not happen.
And value possessions a little bit more. Remember, turnovers lead to possessions for the other team. The more possessions you get, typically the more basketball games you win because you get the ball more, you score more, and that's what happens when you keep score. So,
hey, can folks in the live chat, y'all are talking about the Bruce Pearl's post game. If y'all could share that, I'd really appreciate it because apparently it was dramatic. I don't know any details, but people keep talking about it. So if somebody could add some context to that, I'd appreciate it. Traore never got a fair shot. How do you know that? Surely they wanted to give the 5-star a chance. Like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, I get we're upset, but I promise they gave the 5-star an opportunity. I promise.
I think
That's
that
silly.
Look, here's the thing. People don't understand how surprised this coaching staff is with the lack of impact and readiness that Trehor has had for this season. They're shocked at his overall basketball ability and readiness to contribute. Let's just put it at that.
Yeah. It's just funny. They're talking about an all crepes diet. And then my mom says that she loves crepes, which how could you not?
I haven't had crepes in a long time. It's been a long, long time since I've had crepes.
I took French at Auburn. I took 2 classes of French to graduate, and at the end of each semester we had a crepes party.
That's pretty awesome.
Right.
Your mom will get this reference. Crepes is like fondue. It's one of those things that people used to eat like 20, 30 years ago and just stopped. You'll never know the joy of fondue.
Joey says Donaldson is a star in the making. If he played like he did, there's like an 8-minute run of Trey Donaldson where he got all of his stats. And it was awesome. It was part of Auburn's 17-point lead.
And that's the problem. It was 8 minutes, and then it went away. You see what I'm saying? Give me those 8 minutes, even if you disappear for a while, come back at some point and give me more later. And he didn't. But he did play. I give him credit. It was probably one of his better games of the season, and he really did a good job of getting some extension of our lead in key moments of the game in the first half. But I want to see that in nut crunching time in the second half.
Yeah. I want to see a lot in the second half, sadly.
Yep.
Want to see a lot. Did Trey even shoot after that? I don't know. He didn't shoot often.
He had 7 points, and all those 7 points were in 3 minutes.
He learned that from Jalen Williams.
Yes.
Score 8 points real quick, and then okay, I'm done. I just don't get it.
We're getting a little bit of clarification on the Bruce Pearl press conference. If you'll see that for those listening, if you'll pull up
Joseph?
John's. John Mark's comment where he said Bruce was mad because he felt like the play that Cardwell was injured was a foul.
Interesting. That didn't look dirty or anything to me. It looks like 2 guys just ran into each other. I mean, there are a lot more things you could point to, I think, than that specific one. And then Joseph says, Bruce Pearl on Janai. Oh, it looks like he copied a tweet here. So whoever's tweeted this, thank you. Bruce said he's our starting center, and he probably shoots the fewest number of free throws of any team in our league, and he's in foul trouble pretty much every game. Oh, Ferg tweeted that up.
Bruce Pearl has kept his mouth shut about certain things during the season, and I think he senses the urgency now and is basically fed up and frustrated and is like, enough's enough, right? I mean, it's wearing on him. And so where he's probably felt this way throughout the whole year, it's his job as a coach to express this, to start standing up for his players. Other coaches do it. Other coaches do it through press conferences, have their subtle messages. It's time to do it because I know he lost his mind early in the game when there was a lack of foul calls, but Auburn got, right away you look up and it's 5 fouls to 1, and he was going ballistic at the officials. Stick up for your dudes. That's a good thing. And start, he's laying the groundwork. He's planting a seed is what he's doing for Saturday because we know big boy for Tennessee, Plavich or whatever his name is, he'll hack you. You got to be ready.
Yeah. 29-20. That's not great. And they were fouling at the end. So, I mean, that certainly adds to it. But
sure, absolutely.
Nick, I guess we'll call you Nick, says, I thought the look at the end of regulation was as good as you could have asked for. Just got to make it. Yeah, hit the backside of the rim from Wendell. He probably makes that, 6 times out of 10? I don't know.
I would like to see us, I haven't seen us attack the basket at the end of regulation like that. We usually settle for a perimeter shot. I wonder what would happen if we just got aggressive and went right at the rim and forced the official, either make the layup or force the official to call the foul if they foul you. I know some officials swallow their whistles late.
I don't think they would have called it, Darrell.
We don't. Yeah, I mean, I guess we never know unless we try. We haven't tried to shoot a 3-footer at the end of regulation. It's always 25-footers. So I don't know. I'm just saying, try something. Draw up a play with a backdoor screen or a backdoor cut, off-ball screen, something like that, and try to go downhill, drive downhill, see what happens.
Ooh, here's some nice perspective. Will says, y'all have said it multiple times. Auburn won the SEC last year. B-ball will be fine. It's nice to be upset about a possible 20-win season.
Amen.
That's a lot. That's a really solid perspective, Will.
It is. It is. We feel like it's been a down year, and there's a lot to complain about and unsatisfied, and it could be a 20-win season and a spot in the NCAA tournament. I mean, I like where your program's at if you consider that a disappointment.
Yeah.
And we do, and we should.
Can everybody give Will M some love in the live chat, please?
Yeah.
Say,
good job,
attaboy,
Will.
Will M.
Will I
Jay
am.
Bird said, amen, Will M.
Will I am. I'm going to say it real fast like Will I am. How about that?
Will I am.
Yeah.
Favorite Black Eyed Peas song?
Tonight's going to be a good night.
Yeah.
Because that was the theme for the
comes to mind. 2010
Auburn National Champions. They showed that all the time up on the big screen with cam highlights. I love it.
That was a fun year. Christy says, I thought that Auburn played a great game at the end. We will beat Tennessee.
I agree.
The way they played last night, because last time we did a show, Darrell, and I've said it a few times on the radio this week, I'm like, I don't think Auburn wins again. And now I don't know how I don't pick Auburn, especially with the news that Tennessee's dealing with that big loss. But just to be devil's advocate, I think so too. I'm now picking Auburn to beat Tennessee. But devil's advocate here, Darrell, as we look ahead to Tennessee now, you could respond to this poorly. I mean, you're so emotionally up for this close opportunity to beat your rival, best team in college basketball at their house, and you fall just short. I mean, we've seen teams respond poorly to that.
I think this team, because of how they're coached, regardless of all their flaws and all their warts, responding is not an issue that I'm concerned about, and I'll tell you why. They got their manhood and their soul taken from them last Saturday against Kentucky. I mean, they did. They stomped on Auburn's head with a boot and took their pride with the way they ran it up and put it in their face. And Auburn responds like this on the road. Now, some could say that's because you're playing your rival, and of course you're going to get up for that. Well, Tennessee at home with an NCAA tournament berth on the line after they beat you on a questionable call, you're not playing Ole Miss. You're going to be up for this game. It should be lit Saturday. And again, Auburn has everything to play for, and I think they get it done. I think that BPI predictor that we've seen that had Auburn going 2-3 in these last 5 didn't have Auburn getting overtime against Alabama. I can assure you that. But still, I think that comes to fruition Saturday, and I think you see Auburn win, and I think you see Auburn win, in fairly impressive fashion. I'm not saying a blowout. I'm saying looking good, winning the basketball game.
All right. War Eagle Wyoming says, if we lose to Tennessee and lose the first game of the SEC tournament, are we still in the NCAA tournament? The most of the bracketologists would say yes. I don't know, if I fully feel like that is deserved. I don't know, but that's what a lot of people are saying. But I also don't know, if net's so important and one game can impact it so much. The first game of the SEC tournament is probably going to be a quad 3 situation, and that's not going to help you. So I don't know.
You want to have it. Yeah, you want to have that wrapped up. It can only hurt you. So you want to have that bid wrapped up before the SEC tournament. I will say this. I've watched some different specials the last couple of days with people getting interviewed, and there were 2 different NCAA selection committee members that said net and Ken Palm and all that weighs so much more heavily than the eyeball test does. And so it used to be that games that you won in November and December didn't mean as much. They do now. They do mean as much. I know it used to be how you finished and all that. It matters. You win a game in November, you win a game in December, you start 8-0, whatever. I mean, all that matters because it looks at the total body of work, and the net does, and the Ken Palm and all that. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see what the net looks like tomorrow morning. I think look, let me put you this way. For those wondering if Auburn has to beat Tennessee, it's very simple. When you pull up your computer tomorrow morning, Auburn sits currently at 37 in net. If they don't move at all, or they move up a couple spots, I think you're in. Because 37 is enough to have them as the last 4 buys when not having to play a playing in. Now, keep in mind, too, Lunardi's not, the Dalai Lama when it comes to bracketology. He's got a bracketology, but his doesn't mirror the NCAA selection committees. Go back and look at his top.
It's pretty close, though.
It wasn't the top 6. Well, go back and look at the 16 reveal. And he missed on like 8 or 9 of the 16 as far as where he had them in position. Because he had Alabama as an overall number 1, I think, or whatever. He had some seed lines messed up with the top 16. So he may get the field right, but seeding and that kind of stuff, he's not the NCAA Tournament selection committee. He may be close, but he's not emphatically. Yeah. We look at that sometimes and go, oh, Auburn's the last 4 in on his, or the last 4 buys. We don't know if people, because I've seen some other look, you go to bracketologist.com and they take a poll or a sample of 30 different bracketologies. And as of this morning, a combination thereof before this game, Auburn averaged a 9.5 seed line. Lunardi has them as an 11. So you split the difference, and I think they're a solid 10 after this game, but we'll see.
All right. Christy says, I was the one who picked them to go 2-3 a few weeks ago, and y'all questioned me. Christy, you may nail it. You may nail it if they win on Saturday. And I hope you do, because I'd rather them go 2-3 than 1-4.
Yeah, I apologize because I actually agreed with her and then ended up getting my numbers backwards and disagreed and said 3-2. But I had them beating Tennessee and Ole Miss and losing to Kentucky, Alabama, and who's the other loss? It was on the road.
Vandy.
See, yeah, no, I didn't. I had them beating Vandy and then beating Tennessee and Ole Miss, yeah.
Ashton asked who is our likely matchup in the first round. I think it's going to be like the winner of Georgia and South Carolina is the most likely option. I think that's what I saw.
Yeah, I think if you win Saturday, you should be a solid, 6 seed in the tournament if you win Saturday. Well, now that Vanderbilt beat Kentucky tonight. So that changes things a little bit because I think they're now tied with us and they beat us head-to-head. So that was a big upset. It doesn't do anything from a tournament standpoint. They're still on the outside looking in on that. But from an SEC standing standpoint, they just picked up a game no one thought they would.
Right. Jerry Rice, the greatest wide receiver of all time, says, if Joe Lunardi is so good, then why do I always beat him in our local bracket tournament? Because you're the GOAT. You're the GOAT, Jerry Rice. Nick says, I wish I would have had enough foresight to become a bracketologist and actually make money. Yeah, man. That's a good gig if you can get it. Gabrielle talking about Bruce losing it in that interview with Andy. I got to go find that. Let's do it after this.
So Vanderbilt's actually ahead of us. They're 10-7. We're 9-8.
Well, remember after Georgia, we asked the question, would you take 9-9 right now?
Everybody said yes.
Yep.
Well,
we're going to get
we're going to get 10-8.
Oh.
Because we're 9-8 right now. We're going to be 10-8.
Right. I got you.
I'd love to play Vanderbilt again in the SEC tournament.
They're playing good ball right now. I feel like they're better than when we played. I feel like we're worse.
They're a completely different team away from that bandbox they call a gym. Go look at the records on neutral floors and away. They're a different basketball team.
Yeah.
And so we'll see. It is in Nashville, but it's not in their stadium. It's where the Predators play, right? Bridgestone. So it's a different deal.
Yeah. All right. Give us a prediction for Tennessee, Darrell, before we wrap up.
72-66 Auburn.
I like that. I'll go. I'm going to go lower scoring. I'll go 68-64 Auburn.
I'll take it.
I would take any dub for sure. Guys, please like the video. Please subscribe. Would really help. We're so close to 10,000 subscribers, which will be really, really cool. Thank you all for making that happen. And also thank you to Henry's Service Company for making it happen. If you are in the Montgomery area and you need anything done, give them a call. They do it. They do it. Whether it's your home, whether it's your family member's home, whether it's your business, doesn't matter if it's residential or commercial, they've got you covered. So Henry's Service Company can be reached by 334-288-2700, Alabama license number 00021. Darrell Dapprich, thank you so much for your time, my friend. And we'll do this again for the last time this regular season on Saturday. All right, this has been the Henry Service Company postgame show. Locked On Auburn returns tomorrow.